Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on over-the-top and connected TV advertising. I'm very excited to get started. First, I just wanted to mention, if throughout this presentation you have any questions, feel free to add them by selecting that Q&A button that's going to be at the bottom right hand of the screen, and then you can simply type out the question. At the end of the presentation, we'll put together the full list of questions and we'll review them together. And for any questions that may come after the presentation, or if you want to talk specifics about how over-the-top video content may be able to help you in your business goals, feel free to email me directly. I'm going to pop my email address up on the screen momentarily. I just want to call out this webinar is being recorded. We'll be sending out a link later with the full webinar, and we'll also be placing it on all of our owned channels. All right, everyone, we're going to get started. Just for the people that just arrived, I want to call out that if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to, in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, there's a Q&A button, and you can feel free to type in your question there, and we'll go through them at the very end. And just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. So we'll share it following this presentation. So hello, good morning. My name is Zachary Krasin. I am the Digital Marketing Director here at Mass Media. Mass Media is headquartered in Las Vegas and has been in business for 23 years. We're a full-service advertising agency, and our clients range in a number of verticals: healthcare, corporate, higher education, utilities, you name it. A bit on my background. I was bit by the tech bug at an early age, and I've worked in the digital space for almost 10 years now with a focus on media and advertising for a great deal during that time. I am the lead digital strategist for the agency, and I work with my team to run the great majority of our digital media in-house. We are in these platforms on a daily basis, making sure that we're helping our clients both achieve their goals and grow. And of course, if we see opportunities for improvement, we make these changes on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I've noticed over the last few months a surge in people wanting to enter the digital video space, specifically streaming videos such as connected television. So I've built a presentation really surrounding a lot of the key questions that clients ask to offer a bit of insight to the platform to get you guys thinking about this channel and how it's best used. So let's jump in. So first, I want to speak to the rise of digital video and what that really looks like. Next, we'll take a look at individuals' personal relationship with the cable cord and the implications of this shifting landscape. We'll discuss over-the-top or OTT and connected TV or CTV. And I just want to clarify, we'll be using these abbreviations throughout the deck. Next, we'll discuss usage and different devices used to watch over-the-top video content, and then we'll tout some of the benefits. So this section is key as it really answers kind of the why for why digital video. Next, we'll speak to the targeting. Connected television offers much more advanced targeting opportunities compared to traditional methods. And we'll also wrap with kind of the future state of ad dollars and ad budgeting. So I want to start this presentation with this chart, which I think paints a picture of the shifting landscape. So we've got two charts here, one on the left and one on the right. And on the left, we see average time spent per day watching cable television. And you can see we are consuming a little bit less than what we've been viewing historically. So we're consuming a little over 4 hours a day in 2016, and that's dropped by about 30 minutes leading into this year and is expected to continue decreasing as we move into next year. So what is the big takeaway? So we're consuming a little bit less, and it's continuing to decline. We're looking at roughly an 18% decrease in time spent viewing cable television over the last 5 years. but it's still a significant number in terms of people consuming television. Where there's really a big lift is the second chart, the digital video consumption, where we can see an increase of 24% over the last 5 years. And I'm really putting everything that isn't cable TV into this category. So this is inclusive of over-the-top video, digital video, YouTube, everything else. However, the great majority of this category really is over-the-top video content. So I'm sure some people on the webinar right now are thinking, I consume way more than an hour and a half of digital video. Please keep in mind this is a consumption consideration for everyone across the United States. And in the future, this chart could and probably will look dramatically different. So we recognize that these trajectories are really based off people's relationship with the cable cord. So what does that relationship look like? So I think this slide really ties folks with their personal viewing relationship with the cable cord and how it's affected how you view television or other types of viewing opportunities. So let's go through this visual. So you'll see different categories of television viewers, and based on where they fall within the visual of the cable cord, you'll be able to understand how they're consuming television. So starting on the left, traditionals. So a traditionalist is a loyal cable subscriber. So typically they've got hundreds of channels that are provided by a cable provider. Maybe they've roped you into some type of a bundle or a package. Maybe it's your phone or your internet, and that's why you continue to use the service. But regardless of the reason, these are people who are still loyal to cable. This group tends to skew a little bit older, usually higher demographics and 40 plus, and the average age of a live TV viewer is 56 years old. Next we have shavers. So shavers implies that you still have some type of a relationship with your cable provider. So an example that comes to mind are some over-the-top options that enable you to stream television, but is exclusively available to people who still have a cable relationship. So examples are the Contour app, TV Anywhere, these type of over-the-top streaming platforms that are only available via the cable provider. So what the cable provider is doing is they want to make sure they're not completely losing you as a customer by giving you an alternative package that may be a bit cheaper, but still enables you to not cut the cord. This group tends to skew a little bit younger than strict traditionals. It's high usage for families with kids. And overall, cable users, so the traditionals and the shavers, make up about 30% of American households. Next is cord cutters. So this is kind of the buzzword in the digital community, and you guys have probably heard this word before. So these are people who say no more cable. They don't want to consume any more cable television moving forward. They've severed that relationship, and now they're really trying to consume TV differently. So this demographic continues to skew younger, with the majority of streaming users ranging between 13 to 34 years old. And then we have cord nevers. So these are folks who have never had a relationship with cable television. So either because they don't consume that much television, they haven't for an extended period of time, or in many cases, they may be a younger consumer who only knows streaming content. So I really struggled to get a breakdown between the percentage of American households that are specifically cord cutters versus cord nevers. However, combined, it's roughly 20% of American households. And then one I really felt the need to add was a super user. So this is a combination of 1 and 3, so a traditionalist and a cord cutter. This is a user who still has a relationship with cable, but also has a significant amount of streaming consumption habits through a number of different devices or platforms. And the reason why I felt obligated to include it here today is because this group is technically the largest, making up about 35 to 36% of American households. I'm actually a super user. By the end of 2019, so just a couple of months ago, about 77% of all U.S. households had a connected television device, and roughly 195 million consumers were watching over-the-top video content. This number is anticipated to grow, and it's actually expected that over 55 million consumers are going to cut the cord within the next 2 years. So when we talk about over-the-top video content, there are a number of ways in which this content can be viewed. And I think it's important that we break this down. So what are we talking about exactly? So over-the-top video, as I made mention to earlier, refers to how content is distributed. So this is video content streamed via an app or a website that bypasses traditional distribution models and is delivered over a broadband network that isn't owned by the video provider itself. So it can be viewed live or on demand. It can be viewed with or without a paid subscription model on desktop, on mobile, on connected TV devices. So as an example, when you watch Hulu over a Cox broadband internet connection, Hulu is going over the top of Cox, so Hulu doesn't own the underlying network. It just sits on top of the one that's theirs, and in a lot of ways, it's actually competing with Cox's own video services. And then you have over-the-top devices. So this refers to a device used to watch this type of video content. So oftentimes this is used synonymously with connected TV, which we're going to talk about. Connected TV is a particular device. But the devices below probably look fairly familiar. These are devices actually run through televisions that may not be connected to an internet source or considered, a smart television. So here you have the Roku device, Chromecast, Amazon Fire Stick, and Apple TV. And then a connected television device. So this is essentially a smart television or a television that can connect to an internet source wirelessly to provide over-the-top video content. And this is currently the most popular way to view streaming content, with the majority of cord cutters and cord nevers using this device in the US. Okay, so we recognize what over-the-top video content is, and we recognize that there are a number of different ways in which this content can be streamed. So let's just take a look at the most popular digital devices and how they're used for streaming. So while the most popular devices to watch are still traditional digital devices, so you can see 91% still use their phone, 57% use tablet, 88% use a laptop. Connected TV and smart TVs are actually the fastest growing streaming segment. While others are remaining pretty stagnant, connected televisions are increasing in usage year over year. So last year alone, connected TV viewers grew almost 25% versus you're looking at 37% for gaming consoles, and then it kind of goes down the list: Roku, Chromecast, Amazon Fire Stick, Blu-ray player, and then Apple TV. And I'm not going to lie, I was actually a little surprised to see the Blu-ray player above Apple TV, so I thought that was kind of interesting. So next I want to show some of the big players in the space. So these are the most popular streaming services and products being used in the space, with their projected growth over the next few years. So you can see that these products and services jump in monthly active users pretty significantly. So starting at the top left, we see Roku devices. So this platform saw about 65 million monthly active users in 2018, with a pretty drastic leap in 2019. And we anticipate some pretty consistent growth leading to over 110 million monthly active users in 2023. Next, we have YouTube. So I know YouTube is sort of its own category or its own beast. YouTube offers premium content, YouTube offers streaming television, and YouTube also offers its standard ad-supported content. However, technically, YouTube is over-the-top video content, and YouTube has been around for a while now. So in 2018, they already had over 192 million monthly active users. And this number is expected to grow considerably over the next few years to 214 million monthly active users by 2023. Next, Hulu was at about 65 million monthly active users in 2018. Over the next few years specifically, you can see some pretty heavy lift, over 10 million monthly active users each year. And we see a forecasted 101 million monthly active users by 2023. And finally, Netflix. So yes, Netflix doesn't currently support ads. However, this can be expected, unfortunately, to change as soon as potentially even later this year. So the cost to keep up good original content significantly outweighs the amount of money that's coming in revenue from people subscribing to these platforms. So these platforms are really going to rely on the advertisers for revenue. And because of this, I think that's why you'll see the platforms that don't currently offer ads will either continue to increase their prices, which Netflix is doing, and or will begin to support ad content. So we see 147 monthly active users for Netflix in 2018, and we do see a forecast of 177 million monthly active users by 2023. So I think this slide really does just give you an understanding of, to the tune of millions, how many people are using these services and, you know, the leaps and bounds they're going to achieve over the next couple of years. Okay, so we have talked about over-the-top video content, where we view it, how we view it. So I want to take a step back and talk about the benefits. So this is always the big question with clients. So what is the value at the end of the day with over-the-top video ad content? So number one, great viewability. So ads are 100% viewable. These ads appear at the beginning, middle, and end right before another program comes on, meaning a time when users are most engaged. And the great majority of this content is also considered premium content, which we'll talk about shortly. Number two, non-skippable. So ads are 100% non-skippable inventory. Ads cannot be skipped. Three, less clutter. So less cluttered ad environment, meaning that there's no other competing ads. As well, ads are significantly shorter, and so therefore users are typically more engaged. Next is exclusive viewership. So you can reach cord cutters and cord nevers specifically. So in 2019 alone, there were almost 60 million households that were not reachable by cable television. Those individuals that you're reaching here, you'd not be able to reach them through traditional television methods. So that's a huge number that can't be ignored. And as we mentioned, there's going to be tens of millions of people to follow over the next couple of years. Better performance. So because ads are not skippable, you will see significantly higher completion rates and also overall performance. And enhanced targeting. So this kind of advanced targeting will help you find your audience and really minimize wasted impressions. You're not just focused on, you know, a network or a program. You're focusing on targeting and data segments that find people. And this is instrumental in the strategy and something that I want to do a deep dive into. So targeting. So connected television offers the targeting of digital advertising, but the experience of traditional television. So when a consumer watches over-the-top video content through a connected television device, they are experiencing it in the same way they would watch linear television. So it's on a big screen within the casual environment of their living room or their bedroom. About 90% of connected TV viewers say that connected TV advertising is more relevant than ads found on traditional television. And that is certainly due to the more advanced targeting capabilities. So I want to discuss the different ways in which you can actually target. So number one, demographic targeting. So this is essentially locating an individual using basic demographic details. So age, location, gender, income, etc. Number two is behavioral targeting. So this is targeting individuals based on behavioral patterns. So there's a very, very extensive list that includes these, but just to call out a couple so you guys are aware, maybe it's someone who's in market to buy a house. Maybe it's somebody who's a homeowner or somebody who is a home renter. Maybe it's someone who likes DIY projects. Maybe it's someone who's in market for a car or a motorcycle. So just to name a couple of examples. Next, geo-targeting. So this is targeting really at a household level. So you can target zip codes, neighborhoods, cities, DMAs. You can get really granular and geo-fence very specific areas. Contextual targeting. So that's targeting based on content that the user is looking up. So for example, maybe the user is looking up information on car insurance. Then they may be served an ad about a particular type of car insurance while they're watching their connected TV device. Device targeting. So this is targeting individuals that are on a particular device. So a Vizio or a Samsung television, or maybe it's a gaming console. So in this case, it may be valuable to serve gaming ads on a gaming console, as this can almost be used in a way as like behavioral targeting. And then finally, retargeting. So this is targeting individuals that previously landed on your website to continue driving a message and reinforcing that message. So you have the ability to layer on one or multiple targeting or data segments to be more specific. However, it's important to keep in mind that the more you're layering on, the less inventory is available. Television is still a tool to spread a wide message, and so you just need to be smart about your targeting. So that's certainly something that we focus on and can help with. So now I want to get into the section of the presentation that focuses on the different ways in which you can purchase and serve over-the-top video ad content. So there are multiple ways in which to do this, and I want to break down these opportunities individually. But just to specify that there are really three ways to do this. So the first is through direct publishers. The second is through content aggregators. And the final one is through programmatic demand-side platforms or programmatic DSPs. I'm going to go through all of it. So the first option is going to publishers directly. So to define this inventory, it's a direct network that uses content solely around one source. So a few examples are apps such as CBS All Access, Fox News, the HGTV app. So this is all content centered around one network. So when I open the HGTV app, I have a significant amount of programming options, but it's all associated to HGTV. It's all just one network. So let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons. So for targeting, this is precise first-party audience targeting data. And it's based on subscription and consumption profiles. So essentially, there is a password wall, which helps to define or identify the user. And these apps recognize demographic details, behavioral details. It knows what you're watching, it knows when you're watching, it knows when you're binging, and all of this data is collected, stored, and used to serve the appropriate ads and to optimize performance. So for spends, there are typically minimum contracts, and they do range. Some are larger than others, but you can definitely expect a particular amount of time and a minimum cost associated to your campaign. For direct publishers, reporting cycles vary by partnership, but they can be a little limited in their transparency. The benefit here is that you have access to what is considered premium inventory and at what may be a relatively affordable price point. So next you have content aggregators. So these platforms organize video content from different online sources for reuse. So a couple of examples I've listed here: Hulu, Sling. There's another free variation called Pluto TV. Hulu is probably the most recognizable example. So while Hulu does have its own unique content, it consolidates the great majority of network television for streaming use. So let's talk about the pros and cons. So for targeting, this tool also, or this platform also uses subscriber-based data behind a paywall. So you have that precise first-party audience targeting data. But also a great majority of these platforms use third-party data as well. And I'd like to clarify, first-party data is information collected by the entity itself. So it has a direct relationship with the user the data is being collected on. So in Hulu's case, it knows from its own systems in place, their users, how old they are, what they're watching, etc. Third-party data is any information collected by an entity that does not have a direct relationship with the user the data is being collected on. And typically, this is generated on a variety of websites and platforms, and then it's aggregated together by a third-party data provider. So an example may be targeting individuals who are in market to buy a home. So Hulu can use third-party data to locate someone that would fit within that behavioral targeting and then align this with their users, which is actually pretty cool. For spends, there are definitely minimum contracts. These are very high, sometimes to the tune of $20,000 a month with guaranteed campaign lengths. And if you want to use some of that third-party data, oftentimes there's an additional charge. The reporting cycles will still vary by partnership, but you can anticipate a little bit more transparency here. What's really great about these platforms is they'll actually run brand lift and attribution studies to provide you more information. So a lot of times if you're ever on Hulu and you're watching from your phone or you're watching from your computer, sometimes you get that message where it asks if you've seen an ad before or if you've asked the relevancy on a particular detail or information. That information is collected and shared with clients who are advertising within that platform. The benefit here is that you have access to a ton of really premium inventory. And last but not least, you have programmatic DSPs. So this is how we purchase the great majority of our over-the-top streaming content. This is an automated buying platform. So this is where advertisers can go to purchase digital ad inventory. And there are a number of pros to this particular buying solution, which we're going to get into. I wanted to start with an interesting stat from eMarketer, and I wanted to share this. So by the end of 2019, so just a couple of months ago, over 50% of connected television ads were bought or fulfilled programmatically. And that figure is expected to increase to almost 60% in 2021. So within the next year, we can see a 10% lift in programmatic DSPs being the tool to serve and publish ads, ad content. So the DSP plugs into multiple exchanges. It can tap into inventory from content aggregators such as Hulu or Pluto TV, as well as direct publishers such as HGTV and CBS All Access. So it kind of pulls from all different sources. And there is a considerable range of targeting capabilities. So kind of referring back to that list that I shared before, you can do contextual targeting, audience-based data, first and third-party data. There's another one called private marketplaces. So this is essentially an invite-only marketplace where premium publishers make their inventory and audiences available to select groups of buyers. There are minimums associated with private marketplaces. However, I will tell you from experience, they are significantly less than content aggregators or going to the publishers directly. However, besides private marketplaces, the great majority of all of these different targeting options are CPM-based. So that's a cost per thousand metric. It technically really means there are no minimums. However, I would like to caveat that by saying that every campaign is different, and based on client goals, available inventory, the audience that you're trying to target, you still want a presence in order to be successful, and that presence requires scale, which does have a dollar figure. However, we do work with clients to offer introductory, moderate, and more aggressive ad buys. And the reason we can offer different tiers of buying is because the targeting is CPM based. So that really is a benefit. With reporting, our team typically offers this insight on a monthly basis. It includes a range of metrics, so standard metrics like impressions, clicks, views, completed view rate, etc. But you can also drill down even further to domain insight, best time of day. If we're doing vanity phone numbers, we can provide insight on that. If we're doing vanity URLs, we can provide information on people going to websites, what they're doing when they're on a website, things of that nature. So it can get pretty granular in terms of the reporting. Benefits include the flexibility in spend, creative, and cost. So it's easy to swap out creative and A/B test creative on an ongoing basis. For our clients, we try to secure multiple creative placements for comparison. You just never know what your select audience groups are going to engage with, right? So some clients will run multiple tests throughout the duration of the campaign, which can be very helpful to both the overall performance as well as maybe some takeaways that affect other areas of the campaign. So for example, maybe we're running two messages. We recognize that one message is performing significantly stronger. We're going to take that insight and then we're going to carry it across maybe other mediums that are using similar messaging. But this isn't just messaging. It could be, lengths of the ad. It could be the hook at the very beginning. It could be promoting value prop versus a sales message. It can be a number of things. And I certainly think that the creative ad testing process is imperative. And I think that using a programmatic DSP, we do have that flexibility of being able to add and remove creative when we need to. And for this, another benefit I just wanted to call out, I kind of called it out before, but you really do have the full range of targeting opportunities for this platform. So now that we've talked through the fundamental details behind over-the-top video content and how it's placed, I just wanted to share a bit about what the future holds for this medium. So I've highlighted a number of compelling stats that I kind of want to share with you. So U.S. marketers will increase their 2020 connected TV ad budgets to 28%, to $8.88 billion. So this will increase further in 2021 with almost $11 billion, and by 2023, it'll be over $14 billion. So essentially in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see budgets double for connected TV with the people who are currently using it. So this speaks to advertisers really already implementing and leveraging connected TV ads in their marketing strategy and seeing the effects and increasing their investments and continuing to increase their investments on a yearly basis. Next, 45% of Americans will be cord cutters or cord nevers by 2023. So this group of individuals will not be able to be reached by the cable cord anymore. And in the U.S. alone, we'll see almost half will be unreachable. And finally, by the end of 2022, more than a fifth of the population, or 55.1 million people, will no longer watch traditional paid television. And I do think we'll see cable providers really pushing. If you remember that slide originally where I show the cable relationship, I think cable providers are really going to be pushing on shavers, which were the cable loyalists that had the over-the-top video content that was exclusive to the cable providers. It's these types of bundles or skinny bundles that I think they're really going to be pushing to really compete with some of these big name streaming service providers. And I think you're going to see that over the next couple of years. So with the continued growth of connected television and streaming services, I think keeping over-the-top video content in mind for your ad campaigns is going to be pretty important. It's a medium that has significantly grown over the last few years and continues to grow. And I think using these channels to allow you to hit an engaged audience with video messaging, and in many cases, hit an audience that is no longer reachable anymore through traditional television means. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining me today. As I mentioned, my name is Zachary Krasson. I am putting up on the screen now my name and title and email address in case you do want to connect after this presentation. But I greatly appreciate you joining me today to walk through digital video and over-the-top video content.